One of the most harrowing natural disasters of 2004 is the basis for The Impossible, which is the latest film from the acclaimed director of The Orphanage, Juan Bayona. And the film's based around the 2004 tsunami and a family vacationing in Thailand at the time, a five-person family, um, and essentially how they survive and how they reconnect in a country that's completely unknown to them. I think as a film, it's less about survival as it is about reconnection. It's much like The Orphanage in a way, because that film's about reconnecting with a past life, a past identity that the main character had forgotten. And I think this film is more about reconnection in the simplest form, reconnection with family, and it's about a reconnection of a family that isn't so cohesive. At the beginning of the film, they're arguing, they're always at each other's throats, and I think the wave brings them close together, and I think as a theme that it works really well, and it doesn't feel too in your face. It doesn't uh, whack you over the head with it. But films like this have a tendency to over sentimentalize, and I thought that overall it did a really good job of staying quite subdued until the end. The last 45 minutes are very, very cheesy because, well, it's all about family trying to find each other, so you can assume what happens. But I think it gets away with it because the first hour and a half is just so incredibly grueling and horrible, and watching some of the things that happen to these characters is just really, really, it just affects you in a way that you didn't expect it to. It's one of those films that is very, very powerful. I think that the reason it's so good is because it's got some great cast performances, and the direction by Antonio Bayona is really good. Um, and I think the standouts are definitely Naomi Watts as Maria, the mother of the family. Um, Ewan McGregor is great again as Henry, and the oldest child, played by Tom Hollander, Lucas, is really well portrayed. At, although at times in the script he flip flops around from a very knowing young boy to a very naive, stupid child, and I don't think that's Tom Hollander's fault, as he portrays all these quirks of the character really well. It's just that the film itself has one of the worst scripts I've ever seen, and I think that's the only real problem with it. The script by Sergio Sanchez is just woeful. There is no other way of putting it. It's almost comic at times. There are lines of dialogue that want to make you laugh, and I think in a film like this, if you want to laugh, you're in the wrong film. And I think the script actually makes parts of this movie offensive, and it's a film you really want to enjoy because it's really well directed and it's really well acted, and it just ruins it in places. And the opening is so bad because of it. It's got one of these terrible scenes on an airplane. It's really just dreadful. And I think just it's the only downside to the movie. And overall, I think the acting, as I said, is great. The directing's great, and you get this overall sense of catharsis at the end, and you rarely get that from most films lately. And it's really affecting, and I challenge you not to cry in it, but I think you'll watch it and you'll listen to these lines of dialogue, and it'll just ruin most of it for you. And I think deep down, I wouldn't give it a 10 or a 10 out of 10 if I was giving a rating. It'd be more like an 8, mainly because it's just scripted so badly. But overall, it's really powerful, and it's got some great performances, and I think to an extent it saves the film, but you can't help but notice the bad stuff, and the bad stuff is really bad.